It's a beautiful night in the Northeast. You're looking live at the Empire State Building in Manhattan, and just across the Hudson River is the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and in the Meadowlands is located a Giant Stadium. Giant Stadium, where the Jets also play their home games, is sold out tonight. It'll be the New York Jets and the Los Angeles Raiders, two longtime adversaries in the American Football Conference. Hello again, everybody. I'm Frank Gifford. We are happy you are with us. I think everyone connected with football, and even if you're not, knows that history will be made tonight when, for the first time, a black man will walk the sidelines of an NFL game playing here in New Jersey tonight. And there he is, Art Shell, the first time in the modern era that we have had black head coach in the National Football League. You know a lot about Art Shell already. You're going to know more, and at halftime, Lynn Swan will take an in-depth look at this man. But this Hall of Famer will tell you very quietly but very firmly, and at 300 pounds he can be pretty firm, that he wants to be judged on his accomplishments, on his coaching record. And that record will begin tonight against a very young 1-3 Jets team, an injury-riddled Jets team. But meanwhile, Art Shell has got his own problems developing a winning team with the 1-3 Raiders team that, Al, when you talk to Al Davis, you get the history lesson, the pride and the poise and all that. But this is not a strong football team, and Art Shell has got his work cut out for him.
Frank, he should be coach of the year hands down if this team wins the AFC West, which is a relatively weak division. But Art Shell not only has to look forward to the tougher part of the schedule, he's got to figure out a way to get the defense to keep the opposition off the board. Offensively, they're in pretty good shape. You've got Jay Schrader and Willie Gault and Marcus Allen, and in a couple of weeks, Bo Jackson. But defensively, a lot of problems. They're last in the league against the rush. They've been moving linebackers in and out all season long. And now they have lost their best defensive player. Van McElroy is on injured reserve. So tonight, the Jets and the Raiders, and I know one thing, Dan, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy from the New York Jets for the Raiders because they have enough problems of their own.
Almost as many as Raiders have, Al, and they have not played very well this season. Something that really troubles Joe Walton and his staff, especially in their loss last week to the Colts. The Jets made mistakes, which they've been doing all year long, but for the first time, their coach was concerned that maybe the effort wasn't there. And if you know Joe Walton at all, you know that is unacceptable.
And so here we go as we end the 5th week of the 1989 season. Art Shell yet to finalize his deal, but he said that will be no problem. And Joe Walton, who had his deal extended at the end of the 1988 season, he is signed through 1991. At the Meadowlands, beautiful night. Temperature in the low 50s. And for the Raiders, Jeff Jager to kick off with Bobby Humphrey and JoJo Townsell back to receive for the Jets. And here we go from the Meadowlands as Townsell backs up, brings it out from a yard deep in the end zone, and is tackled out at the 23-yard line by Mike Harden, the former Denver Bronco. Ken O'Brien, who's been very erratic this season. The Jets 1-3. O'Brien with 6 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. And the rest of the offense, Freeman McNeil with Roger Vick are the running backs. We'll also see Johnny Hector. We'll watch Toon, who's been hurt. Harper, the other wideout. Griggs, Spells, Schuler at the tight end spot. And the offensive line has been a source of trouble from the 23-yard line. Freeman McNeil picks up about 2. Again, the Raiders last in the league against the rush. They're listed as a 3-4 team, though oft times Townsend will line up in a down position. But for the moment, it's Wise, Golick, and Scott Davis. And then the linebackers, Lyndon King. They got Jerry Robinson back last week. That'll really help them with Benson and Townsend. And there is the rebuilt secondary. Washington's been hampered by a hamstring pull. We'll keep an eye on him. Johnny Hector is in the game on 2nd and 8 as O'Brien retreats in his first pass of the night. A sideline pass taken by Toon. And Al Toon with a nice move. And again, we'll have to watch him, see how much he can play tonight. He was questionable, picks up the first down. Watch the move again.
Toon, of course, has that great speed. And here is Terry McDaniel, basically a rookie, even though he came up last year. He puts the drive on like he's going to take it upfield, spots the first down marker, is there to pick it up. Great receiver. There's no question about that. Came up with Jerry Rice and all the top receivers that came up in 1983.
Rice and Eddie Brown as well, all going in the first round. From the 35, wide open. open is Chris Burkett. The former Buffalo Bill has a first down, taking it to the 50-yard line. The last time we saw Burkett on a Monday night 3 weeks ago in Buffalo, he was being chewed out by Jim Kelly. Waived subsequent that week and then picked up by the Jets and figures to play a big role tonight.
And Joe Walton told us he did not want to waste any time in getting Burkett active in the Jets offense, and that is just another nice move. 2 separate occasions now early in this ball game we've seen Raider defensive backs missing tackles, allowing Jet receivers to get extra yardage.
1st and 10, Jets from the 50 after back-to-back first downs with Toon in motion. O'Brien protected well again, shoots one out to Toon, and he is run out of bounds at the 47-yard line, and the crowd wants a penalty, but no flag. And now a late flag comes in.
A flag about as late as a flag could get. I'm not sure. Al, I don't think that was a flag thrown by one of the officials. No, that's a piece of cloth that came flying along the Raiders sideline. That was not a flag from the officials. That's a first down completion. Lionel Washington, the Raider in defense, and Al Toon, just a very short possession type catch. That is his specialty. He's not a deep guy. They like the way he runs after he catches a short ball. On 2nd and 7, Roger gets wrapped up. Scott Davis makes the initial contact, and Townsend finishes him off. Well, Al, you talked earlier about how poorly the Los Angeles Raiders play the run. This may be a question of the movable object meeting the unmoving object, because the New York Jets don't rush the ball well at all. Here's a good example. They've had so many problems on their line, and that's Davis just working right upfield, right into the designed area of the play. Keep in mind, the Jets are averaging less than 90 yards a game rushing, only 87.5. It is tough to win in this league if you can't rush for somewhere around 125, 130 yards a game. You saw Walton's initial reaction. Who missed the block? 3rd and 14. Going deep for McDaniel, but incomplete. He'd gotten behind the linebacker Robinson as he moved down the sideline, and O'Brien overthrows him. So the Jets, after back-to-back first downs, will have to kick from near midfield. He may have had a half a step on Jerry Robinson, but Freeman McNeil that time, by and large, covered fairly effectively by Jerry Robinson. That was a matchup the Jets might want, Frank, the one-on-one with a linebacker, but Robinson has great speed.
Robinson does have great speed, former running back in his scholastic years, and later an outside linebacker with tremendous speed. He stayed stride for stride with McNeil.
Joe Prokop to kick, and it's a short kick. Bouncing at the 26-yard line. It takes a great Jet bounce, though, and down at the 1. What a break for the Jets.
You think punters like artificial turf? Do you think they like this hard?
Art Shell making his debut. The funny thing about Shell is that he is the youngest coach in the league at the age of 42, taking over for the fired Mike Shanahan, who was by far the youngest at 37.
Well, at least he's getting closer to the pack. I guess Sam Weiss is next, what, at 44?
At 44.
He'll age quickly. They all do.
Jay Schrader leads the Raiders out of a hole from the 1-yard line, with Smith and Marcus Allen set in behind him. And it's a gain of 3 by Steve Smith as we check out that Raider offense. One thing they want to do now is go long to Willie Gault. With Allen and Smith, the running backs, Gault and Mervyn Fernandez off to a great start this year. They like Mike Dial, the young tight end. Graves has been stymied by a lot of holding calls earlier this season. Wisniewski is the rookie at right guard. Turk spells Mosbar at center. Mosbar is inactive tonight. He's hurt. 2nd and 8 from just outside the 3. And Smith to the 7-yard line, setting up a 3rd and about 4. Kyle Clifton in on the tackle as we take a look now at the Jets defense. And up front, Fraze, Mercero, and the veteran Lyons at right end. Then the linebackers, Gordon's been bothered with a gimpy knee, with Benson and Clifton in the middle, and Loggeman, their #1 draft choice. Humphrey and Hasty are the corners, Radachowski, and Eric McMillan, who's already intercepted 11 passes in just 17 games over a year and a quarter for the Jets, is the free safety. 3rd and 4. And it's Smith again, turning the corner, picking up the first down, dropped by James Hasty out at the 14. So they give it to Smith 3 straight times, and it's a first down at the 14-yard line.
You're wondering who's calling the plays. Is Tom Walsh, the quarterback coach of the Raiders. And let's take a look at Marcus Allen, who's over the 10,000 yards picked up rushing and passing. Good blocker too, just a good all-around athlete coming out of the backfield, gets in the way. And James Hasty comes up to make the stop, but Smith gets the first down. Now, if the Raiders want to throw the ball, they can also use Marcus Allen out of the backfield. Good receiver.
At the 14-yard line, first down. This is Marcus Allen, and he's out of bounds at the 21-yard line. Troy Benson running him out of bounds. What about Bo Jackson? Well, in Bo's contract, he gets a week off between baseball and football. This is that week. He goes into camp next Wednesday, could be activated for the Kansas City game, more likely a week from. But the question is now, will Marcus Allen continue to be Mr. Nice Guy and move to fullback?
He's really undersized at fullback, but then again, even undersized, he might be the best blocking back on the Raider team. So there's no question that Marcus Allen has sacrificed his own career for the betterment of Bo Jackson. You raise a good question, Al. Will he continue to do it?
Second down and a long 3 from the 20, and this is Smith, and he is close to a first down, short by a yard. Kyle Clifton is in on the tackle.
I know one thing for sure, Al and Frank. When we talked to Al Davis and Art Shell, we asked them, what do you want to accomplish here? And both of them were adamant, we want to return to the old Raider way. And the first thing they mentioned was power football. And we have certainly seen that so far here in the Raider offense coming out of their own end zone. The ball has been on the ground continuously. It has been nothing but power football up to this 3rd and short.
And now they come up in the eye for the first time on 3rd and 1. Allen looking like he was back at USC. Moves through the middle, but is stopped for no gain by Troy Benson in the middle.
Oh, I don't think he's close. I don't think he's anywhere close to the first down.
No, definitely short. It's going to be 4th down.
Good defense by the New York Jets.
They've been strong against the rush all year long. It's against the pass where the Jets have been weak. And here's Allen trying to exploit a little hole over in the right side, but it was closed quickly by Benson. They'll bring the sticks out, but I don't think he made it.
No, that was excellent work by Troy Benson, number 54, coming in, putting the shoulder. Nope, they're going to come up short on this one. Although it was a good spot. It was a good spot, and there is Al Davis to the right of the post.
Very adamant about returning to what he terms Raider football, and Raider football is, as Dan said, power football, and just let it fly to the Cliff Branches and the Fred Bolitnikoffs, and of course today that would be Fernandez and Willie Galt. We'll see.
Jeff Gossett to kick.
And I think the Raiders left early, Al. They're going to have an illegal man downfield.
Flag down. This is Townsell. And he's dropped at the 31-yard line, and we'll get the call from Johnny Greer. And a footnote to this game, Johnny Greer was the first ever black referee in the NFL when he took over last year as a ref, several years as an official. And that is the call against the Raiders.
And keep in mind, Greer was scheduled to do this game long before the announcement of Art Shell. Don't try to make a story out of that. With the lack of a return by the New York Jets, you can be sure that they'll accept this penalty and make the Raiders kick again.
An eligible member of the kicking team downfield, number 39, still for 3rd down.
Steve Strahan was the man. So Gossett to kick it again with 8:20 to play in a scoreless opening quarter.
The Jets have been, over the years, well disciplined on their special teams, and JoJo has been known to take it all the way back. He'll get another shot at it. Up a little closer to midfield.
He's one of the great return men in the National Football League, both punt return and kickoff return. Kind of not very well known outside of the New York area, but one of the very best.
And this year seeing more action than ever as a wide receiver as well. Council from the 40 drops the football and covers up at the first 4 weeks for the Raiders. They gave up 171 against San Diego, 152 against Kansas City, 170 against Denver, and 160 on the ground last week to Seattle. So that's been the problem. Here they face the Jets, 1st and 10 from the 42-yard line, and Freeman McNeil for a gain of 7 out to the 49. He is stopped by the linebacker Jerry Robinson.
Doesn't matter what team you play for, the old counter gap is the counter gap. There's the New York Jets version of it. McNeil with the counter step. His 2 linemen from the offside, Haight and Criswell, come around, and a nice pickup on 1st down. Gives Kenny O'Brien a lot of latitude here on 2nd and 4.
You saw McNeil's career numbers. He has led the Jets in rushing in each of the last 8 seasons. On 2nd down, it would have been a first, and Burkett drops the football on the far side. So it'll be 3rd down and 3.
I think at this point, and the Jets offense under this man, Joe Walton, is a rather complicated one, particularly the passing game, that Burkett is still having a problem, and rather than just running a pass pattern and being familiar with it, he's having to think about every step he takes.
Except that time they gave him a rather simplified route over on the far side of the field.
We'll see most of that tonight. It'll be straight flies, a little hitch like this, or just a simple slant. But they won't change it on him either.
Well, he keeps it up, and he'll be watching someone else do that if he doesn't get a handle on the ball.
Out of the shotgun on 3rd down and 3. Raiders rush 4, but the Jets pick them up. And it's a 1st down at the 40-yard line as O'Brien threads it into the arms of Al Toon. So he's already made his 2nd catch. He is stopped by Eddie Anderson before giving up the football. 1st down New York at the 40.
Joe Walton calling the play, sending them in. Remarkable record Al Toon had going in the last week of having caught at least 3 passes in every career game for 52. And now you can see he's struggling out. I think probably that thigh muscle is hurting him once again.
He's got a strained quadricep, and you could see at that time when he caught the ball and tried to hold his ground, driven back, he hurt it a little bit.
Michael Harper, 84, in to replace him. That's Harper at the top of the screen from the 39. O'Brien after a long count. O'Brien lofting it for Burkett too far. He had gotten between McDaniel and Harden with 6:36 to go in a scoreless opening period. 2nd down and 10.
Chris Burkett is going to have to be a part of tonight's passing attack for the Jets, especially if Al Toon can't go. Again, a reminder that Mickey Schuler is out. Pretty decent coverage that time, and looked like a little indecision on Burkett's part. Al Toon has come back in. You see him splitting here to the near side, and this guy's going to have to stay healthy if the Jets, I think, are going to be effective in the air tonight.
2nd and 10. Toon in motion. Handoff to McNeil, who cuts it back inside. Nice move, and takes it to the 30-yard line.
McNeil with great acceleration. You saw it on that particular play. He can plant a foot and bring it back as good as any in the league. And of course, he's playing in the shadow of last week when he threw a block on Indianapolis's Austin O'Brien, and O'Brien later had knee surgery, and he's a very emotional man, is Freeman McNeil. He literally did not play much after that, took himself out of the game, and he was very upset about it. I'm sure he'd like to put on a good show tonight. Very capable of it too.
Blew a couple of assignments in critical situations. 3rd down and 1. Hector to the left side. He's the short yardage man and picks up the 1st down. Stopped by Jerry Robinson at the 28, and the penalty marker is down. And there goes your 1st down. Joe Walton watching his team again make mistakes. It's been the story of the season thus far.
Holding, 43 offense. Still 3rd down.
That's Roger Vick, who was paired with Hector in the backfield, trying to lay down a block.
Vick that time was split out wide. And that is where it's really easy to get caught. When you're on the very end of the line of scrimmage, like Roger Vick was that time, trying to make a lead block, any movement with the arms at all outside the framework of the body is going to draw a flag.
Al Toon comes back in. We'll get an idea how bad that leg is, whether or not they go to him. They'd like to go to him on this critical third down.
On 3rd down and 11, Toon straight down the middle. O'Brien looked there, but he was covered. Now he gets free and juggles and can't make the catch. Covered by Washington.
And Lionel Washington gets there at the last minute. Al Toon is going to go ahead and catch that ball, even though he bobbles it. And you're going to see Lionel Washington strip Al Toon's arm away and keep him from bringing it in. An excellent recovery by Lionel Washington.
And if he doesn't bobble it, it's a catch, and it could be all the way to the end zone, but he had to concentrate on bringing it down after he bobbled it. But a superb play by Lionel Washington, who is part of that beat-up secondary of the Raiders. He's playing with a sore hamstring.
Jets to punt from the Raider 40, Prokop. A fair catch is called for and made at the 17, and contact is also made. Bobby Joe Edmonds, the former Seahawk who was waived by the Lions in training camp.
Billy Griggs, the tight end of the Jets, I think is saying I didn't see him, or else I was knocked into him by one of the Raiders. I think the latter is probably his argument, that I was knocked into him by one of the Raiders. But when you give the fair catch sign, you are afforded protection, and I don't think there's any excuses, at least not in the eyes of the officials. There is Griggs clearly making contact, and that's going to be a penalty.
Fair catch, interference. Number 81, kicking team. 1st down.
I mean, you can see how that can happen, and you can have sympathy with the offended.
So the Raiders now take over at the 33-yard line. Their second possession. They've yet to throw a pass. 6 straight runs, and out of the air they go with Jay Schrader firing over the middle, and it is Galt making the catch at the 36-yard line. And that's one of the reasons that Art Shell is the coach. Al Davis adamant in his contention that Willie Galt has to be used more frequently, and they go right to him.
Well, the passing scheme used by Mike Shanahan at Denver really concentrated more on stuff underneath, across the middle, a lot of use to the tight ends and to the running backs. And the wide receivers have been more or less neglected, and that is Raider football, the vertical passing game to the wideouts. An excellent illustration of it there.
Out of the eye from the 37-yard line. Marcus Allen, and the hole closes in a hurry. It's Jeff Lageman, the rookie out of Virginia. Remember, on draft day, a lot of people were shocked the Jets made him number 1.
He is a large linebacker, 6'5", about 255. He signed late, missed a lot of training camp, played in the last couple of preseason games. Wasn't really challenged by a blocker that time, but right now Lageman's strength is not playing the run. He's really one of the Jets' better pass rushers, and they'll move him all over the field in a passing situation, trying to get him a lane to the quarterback.
2nd down, call it 7 from the 34-yard line. Out of a split back set, Schrader gets protection and fires, and it's dropped by Mervin Fernandez. And that's not a good illustration there of what Fernandez has meant. He has really come into his own after several spectacular years in the Canadian Football League. Off to a good start this year, scoring a TD, as you can see, in every game.
Sure-handed receiver, and as you'll see, the ball was right in there. Jay Schrader has a very strong arm. He's going to love Raider football because he can really rip it. Maybe he doesn't have the best touch in the world, but this time he gets it right into Fernandez, who comes in as a leading Raider receiver tonight with 17 receptions, but averaging over 20 yards of reception.
On 3rd and 7 from the Jet 34 in this scoreless opening quarter. Schrader in trouble, sacked at the 36. It's only the 4th sack of the season for the Jets. Kyle Clifton is right there.
And the Raiders that time, who had 4 receivers downfield in the pattern, that was a case where it's a sack to the defensive line, but superb coverage by the Jets in their secondary. Jay Schrader looked to 1, looked to 2, and could find absolutely nothing. Now there's a veteran quarterback. Rather than scrambling from side to side, he steps up in the middle trying to buy some time.
Go back to the play before, the drop ball by Fernandez. Had he been able to hold on to that football, the Raiders would have been in field goal range.
And keep in mind that graphic you're seeing includes the sack we just saw. They had only 3 sacks coming into tonight's game. Nice quick update, guys. Quick update.
One of those teams was Miami, and nobody gets a sack there.
Jeff Gossett with Townsell back at the 10-yard line. Gossett figures to try to angle it. And it's a high kick coming to the near side, and he angles it as it bounces at the 14, takes a great Raider bounce, and is down at the 5. So earlier, the Jets pinned the Raiders deep, and Los Angeles were. Jets take over at the 5-yard line. Scoreless first quarter. Burkett comes in motion. And Kenny O'Brien hands the ball to Freeman McNeil, taking it out to the 9-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 6. Goldick in on the tackle. Funny thing about McNeil, he's been injured a lot through his career, and yet he has carried the ball over 100 times for the last 8 years, and he's averaged over 4 yards a rush in all of those years. So look at the company he keeps. Brown did it 9 times. OJ and McNeil tied at 8. Perry, Dorsett, and Anderson. I mean, that's the high rent district.
8 consecutive years he's been the leading rusher for these Jets. Doing something right.
2nd and 6 from the 9-yard line. A little misdirection play as Johnny Hector takes it out to the 11-yard line. It'll be 3rd and about 5 with a little bit more than 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. Johnny Hector, 7th year out of Texas A&M. Each team again 1-3 coming in. The Jets with a win would be only a game out of first in the AFC East. Raiders would be 2 back of Denver in the West. 3rd and 5. O'Brien for Burkett makes the catch. First down at the 40-yard line. And he's down at the 41. Lionel Washington beaten on the coverage.
Well, again, Altoon is not in the lineup, so it has to fall on someone else's shoulders. Altoon comes back out, but on that long yardage situation, the guy that had to step up and get it done was Burkett.
Flooding backs to the left, and that put Burkett all alone. Lionel Washington again favoring perhaps a hamstring. He injured last week, and Burkett making sure, I think after that problem earlier, that he was making absolute certain that he got that ball and consequently lost the yardage after the catch.
1st and 10 from the 41. O'Brien going for Burkett again, nearly intercepted by the former Bronco Mike Harden. Let go by the Denver team in the 2nd week of the season, picked up by the Raiders and starting tonight at safety.
That's an interception all the way if Burkett doesn't break it up.
I don't think O'Brien even saw the defender coming in, Mike Harden.
He's standing there waiting for the ball, Frank, and watch Burkett break it up. Burkett has to come in and strip the arms of Mike Harden, or that's a relatively easy interception for the Raider. Chris Burkett having to play both sides of the ball here tonight.
Second and 10, Jets from the 41-yard line. Toon in motion. And a little toss to Hector. And Hector with room, and Hector with a first down. Run out of bounds by Harden at the Raider 47-yard line.
It's like the Jets giving the Raiders a little dose of the power football that they opened up the game with, taking them by surprise with the student body pitch to the left, and Johnny Hector, who's really gained his reputation more than anything else, being a short yardage guy. That time showing he has a little speed to go to the sidelines and turn the corner. That's a pleasant change of pace, I'm sure, for a guy like Johnny Hector. Normally has to play slam-bam football.
Griggs in motion. Freeman McNeil looking for room to the outside. Gets inside the 45 and is down at the 41-yard line.
You saw a good reason why McNeil averages so much per carry. You hit him and he will always squirm and twist, and he seems to dive for at least another yard, yard and a half. And Altoon, once again, we saw him leave the game earlier, favoring that bruised quadricep muscle, and now he is in serious pain over in the sidelines.
And you can see him not wanting to put his left foot down on the ground at all, and just an indication as to how badly Al Toon was hurt yesterday in nothing but a very brief and light walkthrough. Last evening here at the Meadowlands, Al Toon was in street clothes. He's going to try to block Lionel Washington there on the left, and without even making contact. It wasn't there. It wasn't when he fell. You could see Al Toon pull his leg up. He couldn't even put it down. I'd have to think that it's really going to be something if Toon plays any productive part in this game from here on out.
And they wind the clock down, and that is the end of the first quarter. A rapidly played period at the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey. End of one. Raiders. And back we come to start the second quarter, and the pass intended for Johnny Hector is out of his reach on what was a 2nd and 5 and is now a 3rd down and 5. With no scorers, we begin the second period. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf.
And O'Brien had a big gainer there, and a good angle that Hector had given him, and very uncharacteristic of O'Brien. No pressure on O'Brien, had all the time in the world to deliver it, and just missed it.
Yeah, Frankie almost threw the ball like he thought he was being blitzed, but there was no one near him at all. It almost looked like a blitz dump off the way he tossed it out there, when in fact he had plenty of time.
3rd and 5 from the 42-yard line as O'Brien sets up, fires, and it's broken up by Washington, and no flag. Michael Harper, the intended receiver. Great timing on the part of Washington.
And it's man coverage all the way that time by Lionel Washington. I mean, he is up in the bump and run, locked up in single coverage. He knows it's his responsibility.
And he likes this, Dan, because the Jets obviously are trying to isolate him tonight. They've done it before. This time they get him isolated again, and he makes a great play.
Prokop's kick, a fair catch is called for, and this time Edmonds lets it bounce, and it's down by the Jets at the 13-yard line. So Art Shell making his debut, scoreless thus far, and that's how they used to do it very often, running to the left. Steve Smith, the ball carrier that time. The left side of that line was Shell and Upshaw, and when he first came into the league, Giamotto was the center, subsequently Dave Dolby.
Okay, the Raiders are 26-6-1. That's the best record of any team on Monday night, and it was Art Shell all through the 70s and into the 80s, and his career actually started in the 60s, 15 years of it. But some great games from the Raiders over the years.
2nd and 7, Los Angeles at the 16-yard line. Schrader, protection breaking down. He has to dump it off, and it's Marcus Allen who makes the catch at the 23-yard line. Kyle Clifton covering on the play. Nice improvisation by Allen that time, stopping and falling down and making the catch.
That is one of the ways you separate the men from the boys when it comes to throwing the football.
Well, that's
Can
strong.
you deliver it from an awkward position? And there is Jay Schrader falling backwards in his own end zone, totally off balance, and can throw a 30-yard dart like that to Marcus Allen. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks, even in the National Football League, that have that kind of a cannon for an arm.
The best, perhaps, Randall Cunningham, but you saw a great move by Schrader to deliver that ball.
And a great catch out of an awkward position by Allen, who this time hurdles for a 1st down out to the 25-yard line. Again, just to pick up, and we started on Allen earlier, and there's a scuffle that breaks out right now. That's old Raider football, isn't it?
Yeah, except it was Lyle Alzado beating people with his helmet normally.
You know, it really is Raider football, though, and you notice how the Raiders, over the years, they've always tried to look after each other. And he talked to Howie Long about it, and he said, we just get the feeling somebody's going to cover for us. We make a mistake, we get in a fight, somebody else is going to be there. And here's the guy that preaches it. He has from the day he arrived back in the early 60s, when he also arrived as the head coach. As Howie's been seeing limited duty because of an injured ankle most of the year, and only in on the pass defense tonight.
On 1st down, here's Allen. And Allen is stopped at the 25-yard line. Marcus held out, just to pick up what we started before. He held out. He didn't report until the end of training camp. He's always been the warrior, the guy who has done everything that's been asked of him, and finally, and he said it publicly to this point, I don't know how much longer I can be a nice guy. And when Bo Jackson comes in, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Allen's contract is up at the end of the year.
Really, what's unfortunate for Marcus is that he's at the stage of his career where being a nice guy counts for something. I mean, he's 29 years old. He'll be 30 by the beginning of next football season. And I don't know if he's really in a position to really make a real strong demand.
He says he's not ready to be a role player. And the pass intended for Willie Gault. Schrader pressured that time. Alex Gordon came charging in to force the issue.
Raiders could have a lot of fun if they were to pick up Herschel Walker. Just throw him in the pot and stir that around a little bit. Herschel apparently saying that he would go to the West Coast. His preference being here in New York with the Giants.
They might like him on the West Coast of the Mississippi River up in Minnesota.
He used to play right here with the New Jersey Generals.
Well, I guess he claims that Donald Trump is one of his very best friends. I don't know that that's really going to excite Wellington Mara a great deal.
Or the National Football League. He could help build Trump City.
3rd and 10. Schrader out of the gun, fires out to the 38-yard line. Gault on the crossing pattern has the first down.
Well, there is another Raider pass because a crossing pattern takes a long time to set up. Excellent protection that time by the Raider offensive line because crossing patterns take an inordinate amount of time. And look at Willie Gault coming all the way across the formation. The great lines of the Raiders were so good at forming that pocket and allowing the Blandas and the LaMonicas and the Stablers of the world at time to complete those timely patterns that take an extra second.
From the 38-yard line, Marcus Allen goes nowhere. Stopped by Troy Benson, who pushes him back. We have 10:45 to go in the first half. No score.
Remember Benson's big hit in the first quarter, keeping Marcus Allen from picking up a first down. That time he comes in again. Fourth-year player out of Pittsburgh is off to a good start here tonight.
He was out a couple of weeks with a bad ankle. That team has really been hampered by injuries here in the early going of the season.
Loss of 1, second down, 11. Schrader for a wide open Allen, makes a nice move initially, but then Humphrey stays right with him to bring him down by the ankle at the 44. He's about 4 yards short of the first down with a third. Third down and 4. Schrader going deep, but Gault broke the pattern off, and it's incomplete, but there's a flag down back at the 40-yard line. Gault had stopped and started to move toward the middle, and the pass was thrown well downfield, and the call is against the Jets for holding.
I think when Gault tried to break it back in the middle, he obviously had different bells ringing than did Schrader. But when he tried to break it back, he was held, even though the ball was overthrown.
48 defense.
Bobby Humphrey. Bobby Humphrey was playing Gault man for man, and that ball
I don't know
well overthrown. I don't know how you call that.
How the Raiders going to get any luckier than this, because Willie Gault's going to break to the inside.
Ball's in the air at this point.
Oh, come on. Yeah. That's a horrendous call, and you can hear the reaction of the Jet fans in the stands as it's shown on the video board. I mean, Willie Gault initiated that move to the inside. You can only assume the official thought that Bobby Humphrey took his right arm and forced Gault to the inside. There's a gift for the Los Angeles Raiders. Bad call.
Big present instead of punting. It's a first down from the 48-yard line and enables Schrader to go deep for Gault, and he makes the catch out of bounds at the 7. Got by Hasty, had just 1 foot down, and the Raiders come that close to a 1st and goal.
There's an understatement saying he got by Hasty. He is 5 yards past James Hasty, who's struggling to get back into the play. And this is Willie Gault having to back up on the ball, and there's really nothing Gault could have done to keep his feet in bounds, clearly out of bounds, and the ball from Schrader just floated a little more to the sidelines than he wanted it to.
Give you an idea of Gall's speed too. He did a square out and down on that pattern. Schrader set up, and he can really throw the football, but he could not get that ball into a lead pattern in front of Gall with that great speed.
2nd and 10. 10th play of the drive. Allen wide open and dropped it. Started to look upfield at the 40-yard line.
Now this is an opportunity for Jay Schrader, I think, to really present himself in the huddle as the leader of this team and say, guys, settle down. You're killing us. Let's settle down and play some football.
Out of the gun on 3rd down and 10, and a flag is down. The flag was down before the inception of the play.
That's normally some sort of a false start on the offense. I think someone on the far side of the formation moved. I don't know if it was a tight end or...
False start, 60 offense. Still 3rd down.
Rory Graves, who could be the most penalized player in the league at this point this season.
Yeah, Roy Graves is the left tackle. Here he is right here. Watch him rock back before the snap of the ball.
While we're looking at that, Dan,
the whole line
is supposed to be lined up at least a foot from the ball.
Yes, you are. You're supposed to crowd the ball. You're not supposed to be as far back, Frank, as the officials are giving them the leeway. And I'm going to tell you on that last one, rather than give Graves the penalty, I think Dan Turk was late in snapping the ball. The whole line moved.
3rd down and 15, and Schrader gets stumped. It is a live football at the 40-yard line.
And Schrader looks hurt. He is flat on his back.
Dennis Byrd.
Jay Schrader has not moved and does not give any indication that he's going to shortly.
Byrd was the man who hit him. The Raiders recovered the fumble, but the problem right now is Jay Schrader, who was hurt. Opening day, Steve Berline had to come in.
I think you have to hope that that is the wind knocked out of Jay Schrader. He wasn't hit square on by Byrd, number 90, the rookie, but his forearm and his arm caught Jay Schrader right in the gut, and I think it just had the wind knocked out of him. As a matter of fact, he's up on his feet now. But you think you're going to die, don't you, Dan?
Oh, you sure do. Although I've never been picked up. I've never been picked up and slammed like that. Watch Byrd. He's to the near sider. He's going to beat Bruce Wilkerson, the right tackle. Just badly overmatched on the play with Byrd's upfield speed. Now, one of the things that helped Schrader there a great deal is that he saw Byrd coming the whole way. And give Jay some credit. He held the ball to the last minute trying to make something happen, and knowing he was going to take a hit.
Give Steve Wisniewski the credit for recovering the fumble, and here's a poor kick off the foot of Gossett. Townsell fields at the 24-yard line and then gets buried by Vance Mueller, and 2 markers are down.
Yeah, that was a super play by Townsell. Even though he didn't get any yardage out of it, that ball would have gone down to within the 5-yard line, and he timed that bounce beautifully. Couldn't come up and fair catch it. It was too low, and he played it beautifully.
Frank, that's one of the subtleties of the game that we're seeing slip away a little bit. A lot of mishandled punts. A lot of times yardage is lost to a team because, just of your point there, they don't handle the ball. They don't realize what a bounce it could take and where it could put you offensively starting to start a drive. Excellent work that time by JoJo Townsell, saving his club some yardage.
Illegal block on the run back. Number 46. 1st down.
So much for that yardage, though. The officials are going to take it away.
Michael Mitchell is the man. There's Schrader back on the Raider bench. The Jets have the... At the 10-yard line, the Jets take over. And Ken O'Brien off the play fake. Lofting one too deep, intended for Burkett. He was covered by Terry McDaniel.
He was covered well by Terry McDaniel. That would have had to have been a perfect pass by O'Brien, as it was just off the fingertips. Good coverage, McDaniel.
Looking down into Giants Stadium, decked out in green for the Jets tonight. Aaron Jenkins of the Goodyear Blimp America providing the shot from high above.
Those are Teflon end zones.
Yeah, right.
They pull it up when the Giants come. It says all of a sudden Giants.
And they've draped the one-time blue walls with green bunting to give it a further Jets flavor. This is Roger Vick. Gain of 3. 3rd down and 7 as O'Brien shoots one out to Griggs, the tight end, and a 1st down as he's finally chased down by Lyndon King. So they convert a 3rd and 7.
Kenny O'Brien, he takes a lot of sacks in his career. Fine young quarterback, led the NFL in passing a few years ago and is the Travelers Man of the Year for the New York Jets. Every team, of course, has one, a young man, and there are a lot of them. You hear less about them than you do hear about all the problems, but Kenny O'Brien is one of them, gets very actively involved in the community in many ways, and of course the Travelers Man of the Year for the year will be announced at the Super Bowl.
Kind of an odd year for O'Brien. I want to talk about after this play, something out of the ordinary for him.
1st and 10 with Burkett in motion from the 30-yard line. Johnny Hector to the outside, and a great tackle by a flying Terry McDaniel out of the University of Tennessee. Frank mentioning breaking his leg last year in the second game, so in effect he's still a rookie.
Boy, what a tremendous game he's having so far. Some fine one-on-one coverages and some good supports on the run. This is where you don't get a chance to come up and wrap up. You're in essence throwing a block, and that's what Terry McDaniel is going to do here on Johnny Hector as he tries to get to the outside, get into the lead leg and get into it far enough to kick it out from under. The first rookie, keep in mind, since Jack Tatum to start in the Raiders secondary, Terry McDaniel.
False start, 61 offense.
This is what Joe was talking about after last week. Mental mistakes just blew them away against Indianapolis, particularly in the second half after the Jets had led 10-0 last week. They just made one mental mistake after another one, and that'll drive a coach crazy, and it'll certainly drive this one nuts because he expects that total mental concentration.
That was Jeff Criswell, the left tackle that got flagged last time.
Makes it 2nd and 14 from the 26-yard line as O'Brien shoots one out on the screen to Freeman McNeil, and he's upended out at the 33-yard line. 3rd and 7.
I want to finish my point I was going to make about Kenny O'Brien, about what an odd year this is. You saw that graphic we put up earlier that said he had 90 touchdown passes versus 57 interceptions. This is kind of an awkward start for Kenny O'Brien. The way it stands right now, he's got more interceptions than touchdowns, something very, very rare for Ken O'Brien. One of the most accurate and conservative quarterbacks in the game. He doesn't force it in there and doesn't take the interception. He's got 7 interceptions already this season. Very unusual for this guy.
That's all he had all of last year, 7.
Flip side of not throwing a lot of interceptions is taking a lot of sacks, which he's done in his career. 3rd and 7, a flag is down. McNeil gets it to the Raider 49-yard line, but there's a marker down near the line of scrimmage.
I think that was Howie Long who got a head start trying to rush the passer. Howie Long, who's going to try to play in obvious passing situations tonight. That time jumped the gun.
Offside, 75 defense, it's declined. First down.
Yeah, there's no question Howie Long, this is Howie up here in the corner. He's on his way. He's going to try to get the jump. He's going to try to get every advantage he can, and he was clearly across the ball. For his efforts, he draws a double team block. But really the penalty doesn't come into play here at all as Freeman McNeil holds onto the ball and picks up a Jet first down. A guy who has had a tough couple of years, Howie Long, at one time one of the most dominating defensive linemen in the league, is finding it tough to play these days.
1st and 10 from the 49, and O'Brien takes the sack at the 44-yard line. Bob Golick, longtime Brown, picked up by the Raiders, gets the sack of O'Brien.
That's just good coverage over in the right side. Kenny O'Brien had nowhere to put that football, and let's take a look at Bob Golick, a Pro Bowler with the Cleveland Browns, one of those Plan B players that the Raiders picked up, and there you could see that O'Brien had to pull it down. Mike Harden covering Hector coming out of the backfield, brother Vic coming out of the backfield, and O'Brien had nothing to do with it.
One of the great guys in the National Football League, Bob Golick, who can go on at length about the dehumanization of a player who's forced to play nose tackle.
2nd and 18, and O'Brien swings it out to McNeil, and McNeil cuts it back and takes it into LA territory and is dropped at the 47-yard line by Mike Harden as the clock ticks down to 4:30.
Risky pass that time by Kenny O'Brien. That's a lateral. That ball was behind the line of scrimmage, and it was thrown backwards to Freeman McNeil. It looked easy, but if McNeil for some reason has trouble handling that ball, if it ends up on the ground, that's a live football.
Good play by Sweeney, the offensive center, getting out there to give extra yardage. But here it is. This one is a tough pass, not only to throw but to handle for McNeil. But he turns upfield, gets a block by Sweeney, the center. gets additional yardage, but still leaves the Jets with a 3rd down and long.
3rd and 8 from the 46-yard line, out of the shotgun. O'Brien rolling and throwing, and it's busted up at the 41-yard line, intended for Hector and Lyndon King, longtime Charger linebacker, now with LA, batting it away.
Saved a 1st down, did Lyndon King. Lyndon King is a big linebacker, 6'4", 6'5", and he used every bit of it to keep the Jets from picking up that 1st down. Here he is, watch number 52. O'Brien delivers the ball, and there's King, just with the outstretched fingers, and keeps it from going into the arms of Hector.
What was Lyndon King doing? Selling paint in Hawaii?
Yeah, they released him and then brought him back. Prokop's kick is a little floater.
We've seen some lame punting here tonight, haven't we?
Terrible looking thing. And out of bounds, that one goes at about the 25-yard line with 3:39. 19-yard boot. Take a look at those on the Jets sideline.
He missed it.
Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, scoreless 1st half at Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. The LA Raiders have the ball at the 27-yard line as they begin this drive, and Kerry Porter is in the game along with Marcus Allen in the backfield. Porter, the fullback, 220-pounder out of Washington State, and he leads the way for Marcus Allen. Allen up to the 31. We were talking about the Raiders and where they will be. They eventually may wind up back in Oakland, but not this weekend. Something tells me that stadium is booked.
Yeah, do you think
Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, the Raiders situation in Oakland might be on the back burner until the end of the World Series, as a holding call gets assessed against the Los Angeles Raiders. This will make it a 1st and 20.
On 1st down, a good move by Mueller to break free and stretching to try to pick up the 1st down. He's just short. Stopped by Hasty. It'll be 2nd and 1.
You know, we talked about Will Clark. I don't know that his series, though, was any better than the one Ricky Henderson had for the A's.
It's a great matchup. You know, it's the first time I can remember in a while where both teams have enough rest so the managers can set their rotations exactly the way they'd like them to. Sometimes when the playoffs go down to the end, you wind up using your ace in the 7th game to try to get to the series, and you begin with the 2nd or 3rd pitcher. But
Cubbies hung in there, though.
And if this game was 21-17, we'd have tabled the World Series talk till the 2nd half. But at 0-0, we'll talk about it now. You know, Art
the over doesn't look too good tonight, does it?
No. You know, one thing I wanted to say about Art, talking to Al Davis last night, he brought up a great point. I was talking about, you know, the fact that Art's only been an assistant now going into his 6th year before he was named head coach. And Al said, you know, the way it is now, I'm not so sure that the head coach has to be your #1 X's and O guy. That really it's leadership you're looking for. It's the ability to administrate, and it is having the wherewithal about you to project an image. There's no question Art Shell is not going to be the lead X's and O's guy on the Raiders staff. But if it's properly delegated to his assistants, and if he has that intangible, that ability to lead, that ability to excite a player, that ability to make players want to play for him and win for him, then he'll be an effective head coach, and he'll grow into the X's and O's part of it. Al Davis may have a great point.
2nd and 1 from the 37-yard line. Schrader. Well, what would have been a free play winds up as a sack by Paul Fraze. So there you've got a 2nd and 1, and you would think a free play, and the next thing you know, you're 3rd down and long again.
Yeah, that's not thinking too fast on the part of Schrader, I wouldn't think, because he could have dumped that ball off and had a 3rd down and 1. As it was, the good coverage on the part of that Jet secondary. And as always, you'll see the defensive player trying to rip it out of the hands.
Of course, that play was over about 2 steps back, because remember, it's grasp and control. That play is over long before he hits the ground, but go ahead.
Third down and a short 7 from the 31-yard line with 2 minutes to play. Schrader over the middle, and it's broken up, intended for Mueller, and Radachowski got a hand in on the play. Gossett with a wobbly line drive, Townsell from the 35-yard line, and JoJo can't spring clear. He is dropped at the 39. Jets have all of their timeouts. We get a little scuffle that breaks out, and the punter is in the middle of it. Gossett.
Two punters fighting. That'd be like a baseball fight. That'd be like emptying the dugout.
Well, the Raiders could sure use that man. Tim Brown, the great return specialist and wide receiver, Heisman Trophy winner out of Notre Dame. Knee injury opening day. Surgery conceivably could come back at the end of the year. Raiders and the Jets scoreless. New York from the 40 on 1st and 10. And O'Brien throws to Townsell, who makes the catch on his knees at the 47. Again, the Jets have all of their timeouts left.
That's a soften up kind of a pass route there. Just that little curl trying to tighten up a corner. Interesting to see if they go long with Townsell.
2nd and 3, and they're going long down the far side, and it is picked off by Terry McDaniel. And from the goal line, McDaniel bringing it back out. Chased by Griggs, chased by Townsell, chased by McNeil, and a run out of bounds at the 20-yard line on the pass intended for Townsell or Burkett on 2nd down and 3.
Oh, what a night McDaniel is having. They have stayed away from him most of the night, but he has been involved in some key plays, and this is stride for stride against Burkett. And he has read this one all the way. The ball is in the air at this point. Played it beautifully. And what we learned not too long ago, a couple of games ago, had he not brought it out of the end zone, they would have marked it right there where he intercepted the ball.
Again, though, I have to question Kenny O'Brien throwing that. He badly overthrew Burkett earlier in this half, and remember, he broke up what would have been an interception that Mike Harden would have had.
Couldn't get to that one.
And this time, you're right, he threw it so far his receiver couldn't get there in time to break up the interception again. So some overthrown balls tonight here in the first half by Ken O'Brien. This one hurt.
From the 20-yard line, Schrader throws, and it's dropped by Mueller. So we have 1 minute and 8 seconds. Scoreless first half. The Jets, of course, coming in had the worst pass defense in the league. The Raiders had the worst run defense in the league, which was part of the reason the over and under on this game was 45. And there has not been a scoreless first half in 69 games thus far this season.
They saved it for us. And again, there's a good look there at Terry McDaniel, who has really been playing sensational football, and so has Jay Schrader. He can't get anyone to catch it. You can't fault the way Schrader has thrown here in half number 1.
2nd and 10. Over the middle, Marcus Allen is open. He has a first down out at the 34-yard line. Again, the Raiders have all of their timeouts.
You can see Marcus looked that into his hands. He dropped one a short while ago. This one, he watched right into his hand until he could read Pete Rozelle across that ball.
From the 34-yard line. And the catch is made after a juggling effort by Mike Alexander out of Penn State. Good-looking young receiver. And now the Raiders take their first timeout with 42 seconds to play.
It is tough for a head coach to depart his team without, I guess, some players in some shape, manner, or form making comments that some people could interpret as derogatory. Even Bill Walsh found out, leaving the 49ers after winning a Super Bowl. And that's Howie Long's feelings on Mike Shanahan, who really, if you talk to anyone around this league, has a solid gold reputation. It just did not work out in L.A.
1st and 10 from the 46-yard line, and Schrader ducking and darting and releasing and then throwing, and it's no good. He's out of bounds is Mervin Fernandez. It'll be 2nd and 10. You know, one of the things about Mike Shanahan, he knew what Al Davis was saying. Davis brought him in to supplement and to augment the Raider philosophy, but in effect, at least in talking to the Raider people this week, what Shanahan did was basically ignore Al Davis. And the one thing you can't do is ignore Al Davis.
I guess promises were made that the system would not be changed in its basic philosophy. And whether Mike Shanahan did or did not is something we don't know. But Al Davis certainly thought that he did. And in this case, only his opinion mattered. And that was more or less the main reason why Mike Shanahan's no longer coaching the Raiders.
2nd and 10, and over the middle it's Marcus Allen, and he's belted at the 45-yard line, just short of the first down. And the Raiders, with the clock running, take a second timeout.
Do not think that just because one is large and one played on the offensive line, that one cannot be intelligent and articulate, because Art Shell is both of the above.
Well, he proves it, but what about...
Yeah, well, that's 1 out of 2 is not bad.
Right.
1 out of 2 ain't bad, is it?
3rd down and a short 2 from the 45. And Mueller picks up the first down at the 39-yard line. That's an interesting play because they're down to their last timeout, and they're not going to use it here. They are not really in field goal range. And what's going on here is they let the clock run down to 7 seconds, and they throw to the far side. The catch is made at the 35. Willie Gault down to 3 seconds.
Yeah. No, that was not how you draw it up. If you're going to take the chance and run the ball, which is not a bad call. It's not a bad call. The Jets are in a situation where they only have 3 men up on the line of scrimmage. You can go ahead and break a big run. You see it all the time. But you have to be prepared that at the conclusion of that run, you've got to take your timeout. You've got to take it instantly and stop the clock.
Sure.
Now they go to the locker room with a timeout that they've got in the bank, and it does absolutely no good whatsoever.
Now you've got a 52-yard field goal attempt. Jager's longest, as you see, is 48. Gossett to hold on what will be the final play of the first half. And the kick is short, and that's the way the half will end.
That's really Jay Schrader's responsibility, I would think, in that situation, to call the timeout. It's always up to the quarterback to be the guy that knows the clock and when to call a timeout. And right there, the Raiders could have had one more play.
So in this, the 70th game of the NFL season through 5 weeks, it's the first time the teams have departed